Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem. This is, well, let's call it postmortem number 283. I can't call it game number 283 since there are actually two games here. My opponent kicked off with e4. This was a doubleheader against Chameleon. And so there were two games played, one with white and one with black. And so I respond c5, and then knight f3 and d6. So all normal moves up to this point, and then bishop c4. A bit of a rarity in the database, but actually I've seen it quite a bit played in Blitz and even over the board. So after a while I began to play this move e6 right away, but once I checked it out and discovered that wasn't the most accurate move. I guess knight f6 is the most accurate move here. But I half remembering, I remembered the e6 wasn't the move, so I tried knight to c6, but probably knight f6 is a little better. It'll prevent some of the stuff that happened later. So knight g5 was played, and this is not good. You see already there's an advantage to black with the move e6, just blocking the attack of the bishop. And we can look at the notation tab. So after e6, the knight was attacked, so this move d3 defends the knight, and then I play h6 to try and chase it away, and white plays the move queen h5 plays the move queen h5 to try and hold on to the knight, pinning this pawn, so I can't take it because of the rook. Now I played a move that's not the most accurate. I played queen f6 here. It turns out there is a way to get a winning advantage here, starting with g6. So g6 chases the queen. It needs to stay on the h file, so it needs to go to h3 or h4. The engine suggests h3 is a slightly more accurate move, and then it's a long sequence, so I'm not surprised I didn't quite see all this during the game. But then you play the move d5 here, kicking the bishop, and then you play the move e5 here, hitting the queen. You couldn't play e5 right away because the bishop was still on f7 and there was bishop takes f7 check. So then the queen now runs to h4, and you can play bishop to e7 here. If the queen had gone to h4 immediately, you had bishop h7 immediately, and you're eventually going to round up that knight at the cost of a pawn or two and be in good shape. So that would have been the best way to play. A little bit hard to find in a Blitz game. I suppose that's why players can get away with tricks like this. So queen to f6 is what I played here. And this is still, okay, slight edge for black, but not really refuting it. I mean, really, he should be losing a piece here. But he played knight d2, and that's his mistake. Right now he needs to play knight back to f3. And he should be okay. But he tries to keep the knight there with knight d3, and now I can just win with queen takes g5 because this knight blocked the bishop. So that's the simplest win. I forgot or did not notice. I was kind of sleepy when I played this. This was played late at night or early in the morning, depending on how you want to look at it, my time. And so the bishop is no longer defending the knight. I can just take it. But I wasn't... I was still under the misimpression that the knight was protected, so I couldn't take with the queen, and I want to take with the pawn. So I kick his queen. This is still good, however. This move does two things. It defends the rook and kicks the queen. So after the queen moves, the queen went to h4 in this case, I can just take that knight. And so queen g3 was played, keeping the queen on this pawn here, although once again with the knight in the way, he's not really threatening to take it. So I just bring my knight forward. I was thinking of just attacking there, forking his two pieces. I was already a piece up, but I wanted more. And this is not bad, but maybe I should have just moved the bishop and castled to safety because of what happened later. He drops his bishop back to b3, defending c2. And I play bishop d7, getting ready to castle. So I had this in mind. And he plays knight c4. And cancel that. He plays knight c4, hitting the d pawn and also unleashing the bishop onto the g pawn. and I was really only aware of the threat to the d-pawn. So I played the move e5 here, actually one of the recommended moves here, defending that. So maybe there's no good way to defend both of them. So I defend the d-pawn, and he grabs here. And now actually is where I make my mistake. I'm just winning here, and in one move I throw it all away, basically. But it's a little bit hard to see. It seems inherently dangerous to put your queen on e6 where the bishop is attacking it. But the knight is attacking the bishop, so unless there's a great discovery with the white's knight here, I'll have time just to take that bishop, and the queen can stay there. So that was my reasoning and why I played queen e6. It turns out there is an interesting discovery with the knight, which is maybe not so obvious, and the way to win the game is to just move the queen to g7. So the game might continue. Here, let's put up the variation. Queen g7. What does black have? White. White can play a bunch of different moves: f3, h3, c3, knight e3. Nothing really great here. I'm going to play f6 and chase these pieces away. Like after, say, c3, attacking my knight. That has some logic. Well, I would probably take the bishop and then play f6. And my position should be secure here. He's got to retreat his bishop, and I could castle queenside. It's interesting. Because rook takes a7. Yeah. So that wasn't the most accurate way to play, but still I should be doing okay here. Piece up. Anyway, back to the game. I played queen to e6, not recognizing all the complications that were to follow. My opponent played knight b6, which I was sort of expecting. He was playing in this very aggressive style, unleashing this attack. So as I planned, I take his bishop to eliminate the attack on my queen, and now he takes my rook. And now this is where I realize that there's actually a combination of threats which are unmeetable, and you can see the evaluation has changed to 6 points in favor of white. Basically, white is winning the queen for a piece because of this threat. Knight here does two things. Knight to c7 checks the king and hits the queen, so it's a fork, but it's also a threat of checkmate because the king has no squares and there's no way to protect the c7 square. So this particular configuration of pieces is just very, very bad. So pretty neat tactic anyway, and there's no answer for it. My best try would be f6, which gives my king some flight squares, but then he has knight c7 check and winning the queen. So I resign here. So my opponent immediately re-challenged me. So let's look at the next game. Change orientation. I was white in this one, d4, d5. I'll go through this a little quicker because it's a longer game. Right here, my opponent has played the Marshall defense, and like I said, I was a bit sleepy. I should just take here. Yeah, it's not in the opening book, or it's not the most popular move in the opening book. Knight f3 is, but knight f3 is just a way of staying in ordinary queen's gambit lines. If you want to play against the Marshall, the best move is really to play c takes d5 immediately. That gives you the best game. Okay, so, but after his move h3, we're actually out of the opening book. So let's go through the sequence again. I played knight f3, not what I usually play, and not if I'd been awake, I wouldn't have played that. h6, e3. So now we're in some kind of queen's gambit declined, where black is sort of delaying his c-pawn, and eventually here I recognize that and decide to go ahead and take that pawn. I guess here, finally. And so there's a decent structure for white, although, okay, the engine did not approve of my knight maneuver there. Oh, but let's see, things changed abruptly. So the engine is recommending rook e8 or c5, leaving the knight there for a while. So taking the knight was not the best way to take advantage of that move. That's interesting. So white has some edge through here, and once again, the engine doesn't approve of this knight maneuver either. But these aren't losing moves; they're just little inaccuracies, not the most accurate move. So the game continues in a mostly even vein like this. Here, yeah, the queen excursion was a bit premature, similar to the other game. So I was able to kick the queen with f4, and now I have an edge after this. So this move here was really a mistake, bringing the queen out so early. And I thought maybe I had a threat of queen f3 hitting the rook, but I realized he has this knight. Knight d7 defends the rook, so there's nothing there. Anyway, his queen moves, and I defend my pawns, and then I take. The engine was crying out for f5, which I eventually play, but we go on for a bit here. One really silly point is right here he plays queen queen b4. He can't play that move because the rook here is hitting the queen, but it's also hitting the knight behind it. And excuse me, forward, queen there. So after this, I mean, I was so sleepy I didn't even take his knight. I keep playing. I was thinking about the pawn, of course, playing on sort of routinely and letting him back in the game. So I've gone from winning position to one where we're about even, although I was feeling pretty good because I thought I would round up this pawn one way or another. Knight b4 attacking my rook, and yeah, maybe I missed that move. Knight there attacking his queen, and now he can win here with knight takes d3. He plays that. I take his queen, and then he takes my queen, and then I take his rook, and now he just needs to take back with the rook. This is the tactic he missed. So he took back with the knight, and now it's about an even game. And I'm up the exchange. He's got a rook, and I mean, he's up the exchange, but I have an extra pawn. But if he'd played it correctly, rook takes. I think I mentioned this during the game. He should just take back with the rook because, well, I need to take his knight, and then he has rook here check, and what can I do? So I'm just down a whole rook here. I'm going to lose a pawn even. So just a whole rook for nothing. So that's how that game should have ended. So anyway, but that's an interesting tactical sequence. So right here, I can't take the pawn because of knight takes, rook, knight takes queen, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, king takes knight, and then rook here check. So you have to see quite a few moves ahead to recognize that is not a valid sequence. Although that's the kind of thing, it's all pretty straightforward. And the board is pretty open there, so I think that can be reasoned out. But I should be fine with the rook to d2. Should hold on. Okay, but anyway, let's go through the game. We played these moves, and then he took back with the knight, letting me back in the game. So now he's got the edge here with the exchange, and he's rounding up a pawn, but I get my king active. It's good in-game play, getting your king active. And go after his pawns. The advantage, I've got two pieces coordinating against his pawn here, and his king is not yet contributing, so I can actually round these up. He should probably be ignoring this threat. He can't really defend this guy, and then playing on the king side here, maybe busting up these pawns over here, like f6, rook c8. Other moves have been suggested, knight c7, and king c6, and eventually I win a pawn. And another pawn, and now he starts going after my my queenside pawns, but it's a bit too late now. Yeah, when I said I eventually had the idea of playing f5, it's somewhere where, yeah, here we go. Finally, I get to that. So there was probably some more inaccuracies in there, but I'm starting to get some edge now because I've got this passed pawn here, and I just have to be very careful to hold on to it, not to give it up for nothing, and force him to exchange some piece for it. Yeah, so by this point, if we back up right here, so rook c1 is the way to hold on. Oh, no, okay, the engine is changing its mind. This happens a lot in endgames. It doesn't recognize that the end is near. You know, I already think I'm winning because of this passed pawn, and it's going to be difficult for him to stop it, but you never know. You know, when there's this much force on the board, there might be some tricks. But it looks like if we back up, yeah. So I was already winning somewhere along here. So rook c3 check is the engine's recommendation now. And after that, he played king g7 in this position. And yeah, after this, I'm winning with the moves that I played. So this is reasonably well played here. Oops, I missed a shot. So here I should play bishop to b4. Yeah, just stopping his rook from getting in and getting behind my pawn. So he plays rook a4 check. Right, and there's a perpetual here. I go here, and then he's got knight to d5 check. And after knight d5 checks, it cuts off my king's escape. I can't go to this square. I can't go over here because of the rook. So I just have to go back, and then he can come back with the knight and check me again and defend his rook. So it's a perpetual check. Fortunately for me, he didn't play that. He moved his rook, and then once again I'm winning. And the game went on for a few more moves, but it was never in doubt. Finally, it's hard for me to screw up with this much material advantage. And all right, he resigned at this point. None too soon, but well, yeah, there was a nice final tactic that with this check, the queen is on a line with the knight and the rook. So wherever the king goes, let's see, is there a move? Yeah, there's no move for the king. The king could go to g5. Okay, the king could go to g5 to avoid a check because the knight can't go here or here to check the king. Or here, king to g5. But then queen g7 check still looks pretty dangerous. Okay, well, I'm still going to win anyway, but he moved his king, and then I can move my knight with check and have a discovered attack on his rook. So that would be pretty straightforward to win from that point. Okay, so that's it for this postmortem. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you again soon. Bye.